Welcome back to Putnut's Kitchen. What we're doing today is making sausage. Now there are some tips and tricks to making any kind of sausage better. I worked in the meat department for 6.5 years. I know a little bit about making sausage. I made tons of it myself. I've made a lot of sausage myself with this grinder here at home as well. I've been making my own sausage for years and years. So there are, depending on what flavors you want, you can add your own flavoring. I'm not giving you recipes really here. I'm going to make sweet Italian sausage because that's my personal favorite. Love it. Anyway, but there's a few tricks to it. Number one, you take your grinder. If you don't have a grinder, I have a good one down in the description. I always have something down in the description. But this one I can personally vouch for. I've had it for a few years now. I've ground a few 100 pounds of meat through it. It still works fine. It's easy to use, does a great job. Anyway, you grind it through the grinder. Now the grinder has a fine plate, but it's too fine. It's too fine. You can't really use it. It doesn't hold together. It's super, super fine. So I use the next plate up. It's got about 1/4-inch holes, which would be too big if you only run it through once. But the trick is when you're grinding anything, you got to grind it twice. So you run it through the secondary plate twice, the one that's got the slightly bigger holes than the smallest. And then you have some things that you need to do to make your sausage better. And that's where this is coming in. That's where this video comes in. I'm going to show you a few tips and tricks and describe to you why they work. So let's take a look at some of those tips and tricks for making good sausage. So as you just saw, you grind it through that plate right there. You get this nice coarse fine grind. It's not super fine, but it's not coarse either. It eats really well. It mixes really well. So what's the first thing you need to do? Well, let me show you. And one thing to keep in mind is, like I'm probably making about 5 pounds, just guesstimating, maybe a little more than 5 pounds, 6 or 7 pounds of sausage here. And that is how much Lowry salt I put on top. And you might think, wow, that's a lot of Lowry's. But when you mix that in, it's not really that much. And that's the same with everything. You probably want to put on more than you think you need. I will probably end up adding more Lowry's before I'm done. That's one tip. When you're making sausage in larger batches, you're going to need more seasoning than you think you're going to need. And something else I found is really handy, garlic salt. But you have to be careful what kind of garlic salt, because not all of them are made the same. If you look at this one, it's salt, garlic, and of course calcium silicate to keep it from clumping up. But what's that last thing? Garlic oil. That's very important. Make sure your garlic salt has garlic oil in it, because that oil gives it a more fresh garlic flavor than just plain old garlic powder does. So that's how much Italian seasoning I'm putting in there. And that still might not be enough. You always got to take a little taste test while you're making it to make sure you get it right. But like I said, add more than you think you're going to need, and you're probably still going to need to add more. So far all I've added is the garlic powder, the garlic salt, Italian seasoning, and Lowry's. I'm also going to add black pepper. Now for sweet Italian, you use a lot of garlic, little or no onion. I put a little bit of onion powder in there, maybe a tablespoon for this much, which will almost be imperceptible. It just gives it a little base flavor in there. But you'll notice fennel seed. Sweet Italian sausage needs to have 2 things, and one of them is fennel seed. And the other thing is a whole lot of sweet basil, which I'm putting on next. That's the reason it's called sweet Italian sausage, because you use a lot of sweet basil in it, and that nice sweet fennel seed too. Now, if you've gotten to this point and you'd rather make hot Italian sausage or even mild Italian sausage, you would cut the fennel seed in half from what I just did and add no basil. Or maybe a little bit of basil. There's always some basil in the Italian seasoning, but you don't want to add extra basil because that's what gives it the sweet flavor, not sugar. I never add sugar to my sausage. Some people do, I do not. But the real real secret to good sausage is coming up. First, I'm going to show you another possible secret, something I like to use that not everybody does. And the thing that not everybody wants to use because they have misinformation about it, because they got a bad rap for many years, but it turns out they've been using it for centuries in Oriental cooking with no ill effects. But some people are just convinced it's bad. I don't use a whole lot. You don't need a whole lot. For the amount I'm making, that's like 1/8 of a teaspoon per serving. It's like almost none, but it sure does add a full-bodied flavor. Now for the real secret. Now this one might seem surprising to some who don't know, but for those who know, they're like, well, yeah, you have to have that. Water. More than you would think. This is 1 cup. I'm probably going to put in another cup for 6 or 7 pounds of meat. And it might still require more. That's the thing, is after you mix it all up, you got to have a little skillet ready, fry some, see how it turns out, adjust the flavor. Now, why is the water necessary? Well, simply put, the flavors don't blend properly. It doesn't bring the water just brings the flavor out. It helps them to blend properly, and it comes out when you cook it. But that's what gets the flavor to blend into the meat. Without the water, you won't have near as much flavor. It's just a necessity to have water in there. So that's basically it. You need water. I recommend a little bit of MSG. And Lowry seasoned salt as a base flavor works well. You may have something you prefer, but I find it to be a perfect base flavor. Just a nice layer of it in there to give everything a background flavor to build the other flavors on top of. And then you end up with some really delicious sausage. Let's fry some of this up. Try it out. Oh yes, and make sure you get it blended thoroughly. It takes quite a bit of stirring. I find you stir it this way and flip it over, but then to really blend it, you want to smash it a little at a time. Like what you see there, just a little at a time like that. That smashing really blends it well. Hard to do with one hand on the phone recording, but you get the point. As you can see while it's frying in the skillet, there's not a whole lot of water oozing out. I put 2 cups of water in 5 to 7 pounds, and that's mostly grease coming out of there. So don't worry about the water. It really is necessary. It helps the flavors blend. And now I'm going to flip it, and then I'm going to finish it, and I'm going to taste test it for you. Now you might have a couple of questions. Like number one, when I said I don't put sugar in my sausage, and then I put Lowry's in there, and Lowry's has sugar in it. That's true. Lowry's does, but not very much. As much Lowry's as I put in there for 5 to 7 pounds of meat might have been maybe 1 teaspoon. Put 1 teaspoon of sugar in 5 to 7 pounds of meat and see if you can taste the difference. It makes very little difference, that much sugar. Some people would put 4 or 5 tablespoons of sugar in or more. I don't like that. Number two, the Italian seasoning that you use makes a difference. Some taste better than others, and that might be a subjective thing. Personally, I think McCormick has the best flavor. They also have the best price. Not best in my opinion, but they know they're good. Let's put it that way. But I found that there's a brand at Ollie's that is not bad. The little 99-cent ones that you get at Walmart with the black cap, they have a pretty good flavor profile. But certain kinds of Italian seasoning mix don't have a very good flavor profile, at least not to me. You might love them. Who knows? So, keep that in mind. And now, let's see what it tastes like. That's pretty good for first try. Usually I have to add a little bit more of something, but I don't think this needs any more of anything. It's pretty good just the way it is. Thanks for watching. Give us one of these. Tell your friends about Putnet's Kitchen. It's the difference. It makes very little difference, that much sugar. Some people would put 4 or 5 tablespoons of sugar in or more. I don't like that. Number 2. Oh, number 2. The Italian seasoning that you use.